Well, how are you, everybody? And for us, great pleasure to be here. And well, I'm all set here. Wine, some glasses, a bottle opener, and a spittoon, and a little bowl with some questions that we have kind of prepared. Actually, Julia prepared. And I'm Roberto Echeverria, and some of you might know Julia was my wife, and she used to be in Hogarten many years ago. So, I'll talk a little bit about Chile. I'll talk a little bit about these three beautiful, sustainable and natural wines. And what we have today is what makes a wine natural. So any question you have in between, Ben, don't hesitate and cut me, interrupt me. And I guess anybody, if they have questions, just let them come through so we can also have this as much interactive as possible. But to give an idea of where we are and what makes Chile an organic, natural place and a great place also to make natural wines, that Chile, and I use this very easy and clear, Chile is like this bottle opener, you know, the north of Chile, the very south, here we have the Pacific Ocean, and where my hand is the humongous, big, wide range of the Andes Mountain. So our weather conditions are totally protected by these two main natural barriers. The Pacific Ocean with a very cold stream coming from the south that brings the cold water from Antarctica and washes all our beaches and coastline, giving a very cold influence. And the Andes Mountain with a very high mountains, one of the highest mountain ranges in the world, with Aconcagua with almost 7,000 meters high. These two conditions act and give Chile the condition of air conditioning. So any cold or humidity that might come in, it immediately drops down as snow in the Andes Mountain. And the idea of having that snow is that it's natural irrigation all year long. With great this winter, we're in here opposite weather conditions. So we're having a very wet season. So that's gonna give us a very good year, at least with nice water and nice irrigation from the melting snows from the Andes. So obviously this condition, what it adds, it makes Chile protected and naturally avoiding to have mildew with no humidity. We don't have botrytis, and if we have sometimes very little allocated spots. So naturally Chile has this condition that makes it a very clean country. And therefore to make natural wines is something very easy. Here we have the wines that we're going to taste today. No Pituko, Chardonnay, we're going to have the Viognier, and we're going to end with the Cabernet Franc. So as to start with, before I go to the tasting, Julia's going to get us one of the questions.
Hello everybody. Can't see anybody, so I don't know who's there. Are there people there?
Yeah,
they are. Okay.
Hopefully.
So we put together a bowl here of 10 questions, which are the most commonly asked questions that Roberto gets about natural wine, and I'm going to. Question.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to read it, so it's not fake. You can see it's a question there. Why did Liverpool win? Not really? No, I'm joking. What is the difference between natural wine and traditional wine? Okay, well, that's a great first question. It's like very lucky to have that first question. Well, first main question, answer to this is that a traditional wine, we add some things that are natural, are organic and organically or natural, but in a natural wine, we don't add anything. So there's no yeasts added, no enzymes, no sulfites added at any time. It's the lowest intervention as possible. And the idea is that we leave nature to work its way. So basically the natural yeast that come in the grapes, make the fermentation, make a start. Bacteria that are naturally in the grapes help and promote its malolactic fermentation when the moment comes to happen. And there's no activated sedimentation because we expect the wine to have its sediments during all the process. The other important thing of a traditional wine and natural wine is that there's no filtration. We don't filter the wine at any stage, and there's no fining, no clarification, no stabilization. So the wine, as this one that we have here, you will see it with some cloudiness. Obviously, there's still some sediments there that have not been shaked enough. But if I shake, you know, and you keep them in the bottle, you will see more sediments floating around and making the wine even more cloudy. Now, in a natural wine, we want that cloudiness and we want those sediments to be there because that adds some of the great characteristics to the wine. So, shall we try the first wine, I guess? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, you want to do another question?
Well, no, I mean, shall I read the second question out
okay.
while you're opening?
Yeah, do it. But I want to talk about open because I need to show something.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open this one first, but as I open it, I want to say something very important about the bottle. Opening this, it has a nice wax on top to keep it a little bit more artisanal and something more natural. But we don't need to be cutting and getting a knife to take up all the wax, you know, and making all the mess on the table. It's just very easy to just put in the bottle opener, corkscrew. I was going to say something, but it's going to sound rude, so I'm not going to say it. And then you just put it there and cuts the wax in a line, goes up very easily. Then you can take out some of the little bits that could be there. Some of them could fall, but if they fall, it's natural that it falls, so it doesn't really matter. And then we're ready to taste the wine. Now you can do it.
Do you have a glass?
Yeah, glass. Okay. So I'm going to pour the wine. As I was showing about the sediments, what I did to this one was try to shake it a bit because obviously we want the sediments in there. And I'm going to outstand something on the back label. I'm going to quickly read it because I think what we try to aim in this back label is something that normally you tell people. It's not a structured back label, it just tells you what you need to know. 4.5 bunches of single vineyard grapes, this is what we have here. A lot of love for the environment, because it's a natural wine, and for you. This wine is in its most natural state, so it is likely to be cloudy and or have sediments. So we want the sediments to be there, and if you want to have it a little bit more clear, you don't have to shake it. But if you want to feel the voluptuousness and the body of the wine, it's recommended to shake. Drink it like in the next 5 minutes, and that's what we expect. And that you drink it cold. You can even give the bottle a bit of a shake before you open it. And in some cases, always read the label, you know, and unless you haven't had your glasses, well, you cannot read it. But we want to outstand those little bullet points before you open the wine. Some people will ask me, and I'm not sure if that's in the bowl, but the name, is that in the bowl?
What does it, Noes Pituko mean? No, it's not.
You forgot that one.
Because it says on the back of the label.
Okay, well, Noes Pituko means it ain't fancy. And when we talk about a natural wine is something as natural as possible. You add nothing, but you don't take anything away. And Noes Pituko means not fancy. Is a wine with no sophistication. It's something simple, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. And that's why we want to use a slang Spanish word, which means...
Chilean word.
Okay, Spanish. Well, it's been Chilean word, which is Noes Pituko. Pituko is fancy, and Noes is not fancy. So that's the guy like saying, this is not fancy, natural wine. And if we go to the wine, obviously the sediments give some structure to the wine itself. Aromas here are the first thing that come out, and the magnificent thing of this is that it's like tasting a wine that you have in the tank in the winery. That brings basically its character out of it, and the characteristic and the personality of the variety are the ones that first come out. If we splash too much, if we keep on trying to get more aromas to come out, it keeps on floating and floating out, and a little bit when it's open in the glass, the wine will evolve positively well without any problem. In the nose, as we were saying, all those aromas come out. Peach, is very clear, pineapple, bananas, you know.
Papaya.
Papaya, you know, Chilean fruit here, and papayas in the north. In the mouth, I was supposed to spit it in the spittoon, but I didn't, it's too far. Basically here the mouth shows a lot of structure, lots of flavor, and it's a wine that brings in, I think what a natural wine has. When you try this wine, and try a traditional wine, Chardonnay, you cannot kind of go back. I mean, sometimes I want you to go back so you can get the other wines too, but natural wines are, or this one, Pituko Chardonnay, brings a lot of flavor, it's very voluptuous, it's very round, it's full, and I think it adds a great character. So I don't know, guys, if you're trying the wine or you're not, or you're imagining it, or close your eyes and I'm not sure what you're doing, but just hope when you have a glass, enjoy it and have fun. Mm. Well, I forgot to say, we are in the family house. This house has more than 150 years, maybe around 1870s, very colonial. (1891), and the house was acquired by my great-granddad in 1930 when they arrived from France. They arrived from France and they settled here. They found this location, and since then we've been generation through generation doing some wine. Nowadays, our whole family work together. My brother Diego, which is a fan of Norwich. Well, not sure if I was supposed to say that, but
not the city Norwich, the football team.
The football team, yeah. Fan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Norwich City, and he's always helping and supporting the traveling and promoting our wines. My sister Viviana, that many of you in Holgarten in England know, and my dad Roberto Senior, and my other sister Paulina, which is also in logistics and working all of us together to carry on this adventure of winemaking and promotion around the world. And Julia, since I had to import her from England, she helped me also with many things, support, take care of the kids, love, and the labels, of course. Yeah? Yeah, this label was her creation, the name as well, the back label too. So if you like it, tell me. If you don't, tell her. Okay, take a...
You
me? Okay, I think you read.
You pick the question. Oh, you want me to read?
Yeah.
Okay. Question 2.
Question 2.
Does natural wine contain sulfites?
Ooh, controversial question. Natural wines do contain sulfites, but they're naturally occurring sulfites due to fermentation. Fermentation, or a side product of fermentation, is sulfites. So they're naturally present. Obviously, the percentage of a natural wine, the sulfites content in natural wine and a traditional wine, may be 20 times less, but they still have a tiny bit of natural sulfites. Now, some natural wines, and that's another controversy, they add sulfites in the bottling as a little protection. In our case, Nos Pituko has no sulfites added in the whole process, not even in the harvesting, not even in the fermentation, and not even in the bottling. So as clean as possible it can be. The label says may contain naturally occurring sulfites as well, and also says contain sulfites because it does have sulfites.
Okay.
Third question?
Yeah, you want to read it or should I read it?
No, you read it.
I'll read it. Okay. Do you want to pick it out?
Okay, I'll pick it.
Okay, question 3.
Question 3.
3 is,
ready for the answer?
Can natural wine keep a long time?
Well, a natural wine can be kept a long time if it's properly, stored. Obviously, my experience with natural wines, or our experience, is only of 3 years. We've been moving some bottles of natural wines 2018, which is our first harvest. This one is 18. And the wine, to be honest, is perfect. It's excellent and has the same characteristics, keeps the same condition, doesn't evolve negatively at all, and no oxidation as somebody could have thought it could have. So I would say if it's kept correctly, natural wine can evolve positively well. I recommend always to chill it, even if it's a red, because then you have and enjoy better the aromas of the wine. So what if we do?
Got one question.
Yes.
We've got one question as well from the attendees. I'm not sure if you'll have the answer to this, but why aren't more Chardonnay wines made in a natural way? The varietal thrives all over the world when it is made in a natural way and it has so much more character.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I think the answer is because customers, I guess, are not necessarily so keen in their knowledge to accept a wine that has sediments. In many restaurants, if the wine has sediments, the wine is rejected. So we see if the customers ask for something natural, they will understand and they would love that. And I think that's what's growing now. And maybe it started like a trend in some markets, but I think it's globally coming. I mean, we started maybe promoting some wines in New York, maybe 3 years ago, when we started with the idea for our production. But we see that crawling now into Vietnam, into Thailand, into Hong Kong, into China, all around Europe. So there's a niche market in every market that understands natural wine. And the more we accept the sediments and the blurriness and maybe some faults, because that's a problem with natural wines. You can have some things that are not perfect. And according to perfection, it depends on how you want it. I find a natural wine with the sediments perfect, but some people would want the wine perfect to be very transparent and very clean and have nothing left over in the glass. Normally the last drops of a bottle of a natural wine, if you didn't shake it well, they're going to be in the last glass. In a normal restaurant, they would reject that glass because they say, oh, my wine has sediments here. And a natural wine lover will see the sediments and would enjoy that last sip like it's the last glass of wine ever, because everything is there. I'm not sure if I answered the question. But...
Nice, great response.
What do you think? You think the same?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay, thanks. Let's go. Another question?
Another question, yeah.
Yeah, while I open the Viognier. This is something that they asked me when I presented this wines in February, why Viognier has less sediments. And I think the load of yeast during the process of fermentation, maybe in Viognier was less prominent. And maybe when we made a racking of one wine to another tank, some sediments were left behind. So that's why it didn't have as much sediments as Chardonnay did. But it's not because it was filtered or cleaned in another way. I was supposed to be quiet while she made the question.
No.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, question.
Okay, what food does natural wine pair with?
Well, that's natural wine. What does it pair with? I think the characteristics of a natural wine allows the wine to be pairing with many things, because it's a wine that's fresh, but it's full body. It's a wine that has a high acidity, but it has its malolactic done, so the acidity doesn't kind of hit you in your face. Has a lot of volume, so it can go with pasta, it can go with pizza, it can go with beef, it can go with pork. I would say maybe what you said the other day, maybe if you have a plate of oysters, something very kind of base, maybe it wouldn't base, well, not a word, but maybe that wouldn't combine very well with this Pituko wines. But if you have a natural wine, maybe more acidic and maybe more sour, maybe it would go well with oysters. So again, it's a very versatile wine that can go very well with many foods.
I think I wouldn't put it with anything that was very delicate, is what I wanted to say.
Ah, yeah, that was a word.
Because because does have extremely pronounced aromas and flavors.
Yeah.
And if you were eating something very delicate, like a plate of oysters or something like that, then it would overpower or dominate.
Louder, just in case.
Sorry?
Just louder, just in case. A bit too far from there. Okay, Viognier, second one. We try to differentiate also colors for your site. Chardonnay, the red one, Viognier, the blue. And here, in the past, we blended Viognier with other wines. And when we did this natural Viognier, Viognier came totally alive and has been one of the great Pituko ones that we did. Also, it's a smaller production that we have, so whoever gets it is lucky in a way. Again, the aromas is very straightforward. It has a typicity of Viognier, differentiates from Chardonnay. And I think if they're done in a clean way and they're done showing the purity, they can show totally different characteristics. I remember in February when I showed this too, some people love Viognier, some people love Chardonnay. And so it wasn't like everybody loves Chardonnay, everybody likes Viognier. It's something that gives for everybody a different opportunity to try.
And the Viognier grapes for this wine, are they from your estate?
Yeah, all the three are from our estate here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have the estate here in the house, we have the estate around us, and it goes up to maybe 1.5 kilometers that way. So Viognier is slightly in the middle, maybe 400 meters from here where we are now. In the mouth again, the acidity is there, but it's nice. It's not kind of aggressive. Malolactic makes the wine be super creamy, super rich, full. Again, it's a very flavorful wine. I think for us, have been making traditional wines for more than decades. Starting with this has been a great new adventure, but super amazing, because the richness and what you can have in the bottle of wine, it's well, I've said that many times probably, but it's really nice. What do you think about that wine? Or this not Pituko?
I think they're awesome. I think they're totally awesome, and I think they're the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to drinking traditional wine now, because it feels like they're just dumbed down.
Yeah, it's the flavor, it's a structure.
Yeah.
I love them. They're really good wines. A few questions now from everyone watching. If you were to add another grape variety to the Noah's Pituko range, what would you choose?
Well, I think sky's the limit, basically, to think which one you can do. We're starting with the grapes that we have here in land. So this year we added Cabernet Sauvignon with a small production, not too many liters, just to see also how it behaved. We didn't do Merlot because Merlot was maybe less, well, I don't know, maybe it's less exciting for me, but it could be something very interesting to try maybe next year.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think would be a good grape to?
Well, someone else has asked, would you consider adding a rosé to the range?
Well, it could be. Well, we're doing a couple of new things, I was saying, and we've been kind of testing with other varieties. So, for example, we did this orange wine, which is made with Sauvignon Blanc grapes. So basically, we left the skins totally not traditional. We left the skins of Sauvignon Blanc and we harvest them late. And probably the skins are still with this actual year. So obviously gets the more orangey color. It's called Romy Orange for Romilly, my daughter, Romilly. So it's Romy Orange. And we did this natural Chardonnay. It's a pet nat, which is rosé. So basically this is 95% Chardonnay with 5% Cabernet Franc from the natural blend that gives the tint of rosé, you know, and that's to be launched near soon for some markets. And there we have a lot of more sediments. You can see all the sediments stuck in the bottom. But again, if you shake them, you do it. So what?
It's got a crown cap.
And a crown cap. And a little cat. That's why it's pet.
How big is your market for natural wines, and are you seeing demand for them around the world grow?
Yeah, well, the thing is that probably the demand will be bigger than what we can do. And the demand that we see is growing constantly. Since the last year that we launched these wines in New York, which was our first market, it's been spreading in the US. Basically now today is in Amsterdam, Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, you guys in England, and where else? Montreal. So it hasn't been something that we spread out too much because we don't have much stock, actually. That's why we're doing Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon in order to add a little more to the market, and Privilege, who has been going with us first in this adventure to share with them more of the wines that we're doing nowadays. Obviously, we're still doing all the traditional wines that are very important for our portfolio, but I'm more heading obviously in the natural wines and what we're doing today to the customers.
A couple of questions on the wines themselves. Are the grapes handpicked for each of them?
Yeah, everything, and part of the natural wine idea is that everything's organically farmed and managed in the vineyard, not organically certified because we are in an open valley here, so it's difficult to certify that, but organically grown, and that's part of our sustainability program, you know, with that we just kind of recertified last week. So organically grown, no pesticides, nothing chemical added in the vineyard. No added things in the wine itself during its whole process. So
Handpicked.
yeah, handpicked. Yeah, totally handpicked. Everything that we have here has always been handpicked, except some plots that, because of hand labor, is very difficult to get people to come in nowadays. So many of these grapes, we harvest them with a smaller team, or we bring in a group of people that just load the vineyards with hand picking and the 20-kilogram boxes, and then in 10 minutes it's taken to the winery. Normally we'd let them cool naturally during the night. So if we harvest in midday, we let it cool during the night in the cellar, and if not, they try to harvest as early as possible in the morning to avoid having to use energy to cool them down.
And we've got one question about the alcohol levels in each of the wines. About 13.5%, 14%.
Yeah.
Is that, would you say that's quite high for that style of wine?
It could be. That's a problem, I guess, that we have in Chile, that the conditions are so good in a way that maturity comes natural. And if we want to harvest, we need to harvest obviously when there's a balance of the sweetness and the acidity of the grape. So when the technological and the sugar maturity aims, it crosses and it's ready, we harvest. And at that point, if we aim to a dry wine, and if the natural wine goes into dryness, we will probably have a alcohol level that would be part of its natural moment where we harvest. So Viognier, I think, is 14 alcohol, but the truth is that you don't feel that character. It's because it's super balanced between the natural sweetness, the acidity, and the sugar level that are very, very low in that case. Chardonnay has a little bit lower alcohol because it has a little bit natural higher level of natural sweetness. The wine kind of didn't finish totally its fermentation, so it got some residual sugar that makes the wine, again, more voluptuous, more full body, rich, and and intense. What are you laughing about? So,
Answer.
I got a third one.
Hey, what was the question? Do you remember?
Yeah. Okay.
He's just a natural, just like the wines.
No, I did.
my
I did
God.
answer that question.
And one final question about glassware. One of our attendees has got the Viognier in a Burgundy glass and in a Sauvignon Blanc glass. Which do you think is better for wines? What style of glass?
Sorry. Well, I'm.
You drink out the bottle, don't you?
Well, but obviously we use these Riedel glasses, traditional glasses for tasting and drinking. Julia kind of said it straight away. I mean, we don't drink out of the bottle unless we don't have the glasses. But I think honestly, the wine stays so little time sometimes in the glass that the appreciation of the wine is in the mouth. You know, if you keep the wine in your mouth and keep it there for a couple of seconds, you will feel all the aromas, all the senses will go there to you. The glass will help partially of the aromatic compound that goes straight to your nose, but the most aromatic compound that you receive are from the evaporation of those aromas in your mouth, which are the ones you're going to get back and the senses and get them there. So to be honest, as a winemaker, probably that's what happens to us. We drink wine in sometimes if it's a little caña, like the Spanish glasses, the small ones, or the degustación glasses, which is a traditional tasting glass, or well, the big glass. Good idea.
The whole bottle glass.
Or I don't know, remember how we experienced those train trips to the north of England, you know, with sales producers and winemakers. Everybody was a winemaker, but we were drinking wine in the inverted cup, plastic cup from water. So if you want to enjoy wine, you just need wine and a mouth and will, you know, not will like Will, but Will.
Who's Will?
Perfect.
Okay, last one, Viognier. No, sorry. No, Cabernet Franc. Yeah, you can tell.
Do we put questions out there or do we read ours?
Have one of yours now.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the sediments composed of? Did you answer that already?
No, maybe I did, but I'm not sure. But sediments are basically yeasts and compounds of I don't know, juice that are fermented and microparticles that stay in the bottle. We do use some of your tights for filtering. No, I'm joking. We do use some tights that we put in the hose when we filter. Those basically to take out any big thing that can be maybe in the tank after the fermentation, or a pep or something that was still there. But I would say basically it's just dead yeasts that made their work and make you enjoy the wine. It was a tribute to them too. Tribute to the yeast that made the work. Tribute to the yeast. The yeast tribute. Okay, I'm going to pour the third one. In the case of Cab Franc or red, you don't see what you see in a white wine, which are the sediments and they're not filtered. You just see kind of a red wine, so you don't feel that effect. But the great thing about a red wine and our experience in natural wines that, for example, this is Cabernet Franc. We're in the southern hemisphere, so we harvested this in April. This is 2019, but 2020 is going to be bottled in 2 more weeks. So basically the wine, after 2 months, if it went through its fermentation naturally, the wine is ready and is ready to drink. The tannins are super soft. Being something without aging, without oak, you can't believe how straightforward fruit driven is and how soft the tannins are.
Would you say it's like Beaujolais Nouveau in that sense?
I would say like Beaujolais Nouveau because of the speeding of harvesting and having the wine in the market, but we don't speed to harvest. So we harvest when the wine is ready. We don't have to harvest it harvested a couple of months ago or earlier, but it's a wine that's straightforward. The main difference that here we have a combination of or a balance of acidity and sweetness and alcohol. Sometimes you can feel sometimes Beaujolais can be maybe too acidic, yeah, but not sure. On the nose, this is 2019, so it feels it's characteristic. You can feel the leaf character of Cabernet Franc. You know, the tomato leaf, a little minty, earthy.
It's not very. It's very pink.
Mm.
It's nice pink color.
I'm not going to drop it into the computer, but you can see it's still very alive color. You know, still is a year, and actually nothing external to protect the color to fade away. It's a thing that they always say, you know, in the catalog or in the brochure. Sulfites protect from oxidation, sulfites protect from color losing, sulfites protect from microorganism. There's nothing added, and the color after a year is still the same. The aromas are not oxidized, and there's no biological problem in the wine. Well, it does help that the winery is clean. So, no, you're not listening. Okay, question.
Last question?
Last question?
Yeah, because you answered the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah. The last question is, why does natural wine have pronounced aromas and flavors?
Well, I kind of said that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did.
But the wine pronounced, I think, because they're fresh. They're
It's
all
unprocessed. It's natural.
nothing unprocessed. If you compare a same starting point of traditional wine and natural wine, and you bottle them at the same time, and you drink them at the same time, the level of aromas that natural wine will have are much enhanced and stronger than a filtered and stabilized wine. Because everything you do to a wine is a layer that you take off. Like if you have an onion, you take a layer, you take another layer on, and you
But that gets more
eliminate.
pronounced, an onion, as you go in, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
it's not a great analogy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the layers.
Yeah.
You know, they're easy to peel. But in the natural wine, the less things you do to the wine, the more aromas are there. So the level of aromatic character is stronger. It's all what we taste in a tank when we make the fermentation. All the primary aromas that we call, which are the ones that come from the variety. And those are the ones that we're preserving, and those are the ones that we are enjoying in the wine. Normally, a wine that's been bottled and aged and stays longer, either in barrel or in the bottle, has secondary, tertiary aromas that are the ones that combine, and in some cases, they diminish the primary aromas, which are basically from the grape, from its variety.
I'm just laughing here because there's somebody in Santiago that we know, a friend of ours, who's managed to log into this tasting.
Mm.
So is this tasting open to anybody, Ben?
It's not anybody. People that have got the invitation link, but it is on the Hallgarten website. So
also maybe they use my link.
A friend of ours who's in Santiago has managed to get in and watch this.
Are they enjoying it?
Yeah, very much.
Oh, excellent.
But it's just like I thought.
It's a hacker.
It's a hacker.
There was always going to be one.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions. Does the length of natural fermentation vary based on the type of grape?
Well, I wouldn't say it varies on the type of grape. It varies from anything. Like the day you pick, the location where you pick the grapes. Not all the grapes are going to have the same amount of natural yeasts in their skins. Some of them are going to be maybe more exposed to sun, so some of those yeasts are not going to be present. So it's very variable. So it's not something that you receive the grapes, you crush them, and you ferment, and you know what's going to happen. That's why when they say how much, or some customers say, how much are you going to have next year? I say, I don't know how much. I might not even have it. Because it all depends on the different stages, how they evolve. Yeah, and some of them take longer. Last year, Cabernet Franc took much longer to finish the fermentation and to have its malolactic, and it was not ready maybe for 4 months. this year in 2 months the wine is ready, and we tasted it
And you
2
don't know
years
why.
ago. I know why, but I'm not gonna tell you. No, we don't know why. It's just it's natural. It happens. You know, the fermentation also varies. If it's a tank that's more exposed to, I don't know, starting the fermentation, they opened the door and a cool breeze came in, it could have stopped a little bit its fermentation. So that's going to take longer than the one that maybe was protected from that cold stream that came out when that very cold day they opened the door. So it's all very, very uncertain, very variable, and maybe that's one of the beauty things of a natural winemaking, that it's because it's so uncharted, unpredictable. It's kind of exciting, because when the wine finishes, you're like, wow, it's amazing, it tastes good, and that's what makes it also more fun about all this. Hmm?
Yeah.
Do you have any question? You were going.
No.
No?
Was I?
Yeah.
Many natural wines, particularly the first ones on the market, often have a taste of cider and not of wine. What do you do, if anything, to make sure the wines taste like wine and not like cider?
Well, maybe it was the first question when we popped the bottles in your tasting, you know, and in New York also was like, oh, it doesn't taste like cider. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to taste like cider. It's supposed to taste like a wine out of the tank. I guess the regionality, the savoriness of the region where the wine is could affect for many of those natural wines to be more savory, more salty, more sour. This are not. Maybe if it was natural wine from the coastal region of Chile, very coastal, maybe you would get more soury character, more salinity.
Maybe if it hadn't gone through malolactic, it could be more appley.
Could be more appley, yeah, if it didn't go through malolactic. In our case, we try to wait for malolactic to go through, because we don't want the malolactic to occur in the bottle, because when you open the bottle, it's going to be a very funky and maybe unpleasant in the first go of the aroma. So we wait until the malolactic is done, and then we bottle. But again, if we have to bottle without the malolactic, it is kind of accepted that the wine could have that kind of savoriness and.
What about Pituko? Have you shown Pituko?
Have I shown Pituko? No. Well, we did this, for example, with New York took it all, and some in Montreal. Pituko means basically this one, we did it fancy. So this is fancy, basically because the same wine, Pituko, went into barrels. And this is kind of my winemakers, also Victor. He said, oh, Roberto, Spanish. So he talked like that. Oh, Roberto, I still have some of that Chardonnay very good. So it's in the barrels. So what do we do with that? And we tasted it, and it was great. Aged for 15 months in French used barrels. And the wine was amazing, not oxidized, not gone at all. And it was tasting
it was like tasting
French,
a Puligny Montrachet or something.
Like a real thick and aromatic and powerful wine, and again, beautiful. Now, just because Victor left those barrels, and then he told me that he had barrels of Cab Franc, and this year now I know, and we have more barrels for next year. But it's part of the naturality that you get those wines in the barrel, you leave them there, they can age, and then we taste the wine, and if the wine is nice, we just can show it.
Lots of different experiments.
Yeah, make it fun. So have you tried the Pituko, Ben?
I have. I love the wines. I sounds like I'd like the Pituko as well as the no Pituko.
Yeah, it has a special character. Huh? And well, what about the T-shirt? You don't have one, huh? Sorry.
I wasn't one of the lucky few.
Yeah. We'll get some of them heading there. So start making the list of who wants one, and we'll get them delivered promptly.
It's very kind of you. One more question. Other than the wines that you make, what are your favourite styles of wine or regions from around the world?
Well, I love Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir probably it's one of our favorite day-to-day wine. It's a very versatile. You can drink chilled. You can drink room temperature for different type of food as well. But also like sometimes bold reds, especially blends. I love blends. And from around the world, I guess no particular.
Really?
No, not well. Maybe I don't know many, but not something specific. But I guess with, for example, your tasting, your annual tastings, where we have the chance to taste and drink those beautiful wines around the world, you kind of discover every time something new. I love the Greek wines. I love the wines from South Africa, of course, some of the French, some of the Italian. I mean, being in a whole garden annual tasting, it is like being in a world-class dream, because you're able to drink the best of the world, and not only because of Pituko, of course, but because of all the wines that you have there.
What was your
amazing.
favorite? Do you have a favorite wine from the Wallgarten portfolio?
After Pituko?
Second, of course, yeah.
Second. Well, I love the Sancerre from Steve.
From France.
Yeah, from Steve. Your Chardonnay from
The Pomino?
no, the friend.
From Xavier Monod?
Xavier, yeah. Xavier's Chardonnay is amazing. Angelo's Italian wine, great. And I love the Greek that you have in the portfolio. Don't remember the name, but Asitico.
Yep.
Yeah.
Santorini.
Maybe
Yeah. St. Clair Sauvignon Blanc. I think you have a little bit of the world that makes it exciting. And when we have that moment to escape from the booth and be able to travel around, is amazing. Love the Matias wines with Chile in Argentina. I know he's coming next week or soon to come.
It will be in a few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, those wines are great from Argentina, and I guess everything has a little particular taste. So I think Jim, Steve, Beverly, you guys do a great job to select the best of the world to be in England. So
it's very kind of you.
Replicated is your portfolio around the world. So well done for that.
Well said.
Well, thanks for training, Julie. This is great.
Well, thank you guys. That's all we've got time for tonight. Roberto, Julia, thank you very much. It's been very insightful, and hope everyone watching has enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for the time, for the opportunity. For us, wine is our passion, is what we do daily. One good thing that this has made us, to be confined at home, is to drink more wine and to learn more and to enjoy more. I'm sure a lot of people have been doing the same around the world and also in England. And just keep enjoying wine. Keep going to the adventure. Yeah. And check Instagrams for updates and lots of likes. Yeah, and keep enjoying the Pituko wines that you have there, and the new ones to come in the future also. So thank you, Ben. Thanks, Jim, Colin, and the whole garden team that are there. So good luck for what's coming, and see you guys soon.